All right, this is the absolute best technique I've ever found for a beginner or for anybody that's advanced for that matter. But it's the easiest technique, and especially if you're a beginner, you look for this, what I call the basic setup, and I'm going to get into that right now. It's extremely profitable, and I love it. I still use it myself. Okay, first thing you do is look for the daily highs and lows. This area in the black here is the previous day's New York session, and then everything in gray here is the overnight session. So first thing we find is the overnight high. You can also do this on the daily or the 15-minute chart. I just eyeball it here on the 1 minute, and wherever it is in the black, I go ahead and grab that, and then I will mark that out as my daily high. And then I'll come back down here for the next one, mark this out as the daily low, put that in as daily low, and there we have it. So that's the high and low for the previous day. You can also find indicators to do this, but I like it the way I have it. Now, what I also do is mark out the high and low of the overnights. So I come in and mark out the low. That is a little bit lower than that. There is the overnight low right there. And then I will mark it overnight low. And then I'll do the same thing for the high, which is in this area here. And we're on the Nasdaq 1 minute chart, by the way. And then I'll put that right there and mark it out as overnight high. So there we have our levels. So now what we're looking for in the next day, New York session, is for price to come in and either take out the high or the low, and then look for it to re-enter on a fair value gap. So let's play this out real quick and see what we get. I'm going to speed this up a little bit. Let's speed it up to 3 here until we get the break of the high or the low. So let me zoom in here real quick. So now we've taken out the high, the overnight high. And now what we're looking for is a fair value gap to close under this overnight high. So once it breaks down back in here in a decisive candle, then we can enter and ride it down to the overnight low. Let's zoom in a little bit closer here. So we do have a fair value gap here, and if you don't know what a fair value gap, it's a 3-bar sequence, leaving a gap between the first and the third wicks of the candles. So we have the gap in here. Let me draw that out real quick. Boom, we have a gap right there. It did not close below. Let's see, that one did close. So this candle right here is our entry candle. So it closed below the overnight high. Put our stop above the last swing high, and then bring this down 2 to 1, which in this case is, you can do 2 to 1, or you can do the overnight low. So there's our all the way down here, and now where's our overnight low? Our overnight low is even further. So you can do 2 to 1, or you can do overnight low. So let's play and see how this plays out. So I'm going to show you a little bit of a trick here. So the first one here, as you can see, it's messing about. It's going the other way direction. And then it forms this gap here. Let me stop it right here. So the most powerful formation of this is a inverted fair value gap, which means you have a fair value gap here. Let me get rid of this one right here. So you have this fair value gap here going long. Now, what you're looking for is an inverted fair value gap, which is a fair value gap going in the opposite direction that breaks below the overnight low, our level. So we're already entered, but if you haven't entered yet, then we're waiting for this. And the trick is, or the little bonus tip here, I always enter on the first one no matter what. But then if you don't and you miss it and you see a second one, what I call a stutter gap, and that is the most powerful entry there can be here in this technique. So let's go ahead and play. I'm going to speed it up 3 times. Okay, here we go. As you can see, we created the fair value gap here. We've already hit our target. We've created the inverted fair value gap, which actually closed just below the overnight high, which is our entry anyways in the first entry. But we didn't take, if we entered on the second one, we wouldn't take any heat. But of course, he might not get entered. You got to enter very, very quick on this kind of a move. And see, it already took out that for 130 points. So that's 130 points in the Nasdaq, and that's why I love it so much. But it usually will go all the way down and take out the overnight low. Came close right here, came back up, and now finally it does come down and take out the overnight low, which would have been, let's see how many points that would have been. That would have been close to 300, about 300 points. So 304. So this is an extremely powerful technique. It's great in the morning, especially. You can either take out the overnight high or it can take out the daily high. Especially a lot of times these are very close together. Like in this situation, you have the daily low and the overnight low. And in this situation, if you're going to play the afternoon, you'd wait for it to break in the other direction and play it to the upside. But what I want to point out is the very, very powerful inverted fair value gap right here. It's nice and tight, so we have a tighter stop. So boom, you have it right here. You bring your stop down to here. And then if you do a 2-to-1, it's even closer. But you can also take it all the way down to the overnight low. In this situation, you have a tighter stop, which is less risk, of course. You have 44 points. And then double that would be 88, 89 points, which is still great in the Nasdaq. So super simple, very, very effective, and very, very profitable. I passed many, many prop firm challenges with this technique.